Shalom. How are you?
I'm amazing. How are you?
I am fantastic. Listen, it's been a whole year since pandemic
Yeah,
shut down. What a 12 months. What
yeah,
12 months. But I
but
look at it like this. If we still got a pulse, God still got a plan.
absolutely. God is so good. And so we're so grateful. I know I'm so grateful for all that He's brought me through in this season and with, like you said, the pandemic. But I am so excited and honored and grateful to be here. Normally this is reverse. Like
It's reversed.
you're in the hot seat this day.
Yes, on this day. You got to give you a good Bible language. On
That's
this
right. On
day.
this day.
On this day, right.
On today, you are
On
in the
today.
hot seat, sir.
On today. That's good church language.
Exactly. I know because we've talked about it before prior to this, but I just want to share with the people that part of the reason and the motivation for doing this is really to let people know the man behind the accomplishments, the accolades, the titles, all of the things that you've accomplished, both as a man and more importantly in the kingdom. We wanted people to have access to get to know a little bit more of you and who you are and where you come from and why it is you do what you do and
Yes.
why you've been so successful at it.
Wow. Wow. Well, listen, I'm excited about it. I think this is a tremendous opportunity to share and to do that. And so grateful for you being a part of it. So thank you. And this is the.
Oh my gosh.
Did you see
Oh
my
my
hair movement?
gosh.
The. You got to do the hair movement. This is the as it's
Like Vanna White.
There you go. Right.
No, listen, it is my honor and privilege and I'm grateful and excited for what God is going to do in this conversation because I think a lot of people, I think there's a reverence and obviously there should be for a man who does what you do, right? You are the leader of so many and the spiritual father to so many. But I think that can be intimidating. So, I really want to help people to find out a little bit more of the human side of you and why it is that you do what you do.
Yes.
So let me ask, because this is one of my favorite questions to
Okay.
ask.
Come
Like,
on.
what kind of kid were you? Like, were you super disciplined or were you unruly? Like, did your journey start because your mom said, you need Jesus, boy?
Listen, you want the truth? Here's the truth. I was bad,
What?
but good at the same time. So let me explain.
Okay.
So I was born in Denver, reared in Memphis, and as a kid, my I believe great grandmother. I sometimes get the greats mixed up. Her name, we called her Mimi, and she was an incredible woman who had literally raised generations right there in South Memphis, in Orange Mound, which at one point was like Black Wall Street. At one point post-slavery. And so I used to give her all kinds of trouble. I mean, I would tell my sister, I was like, you ain't got to listen to her. She ain't our mom. I mean, I know, right? I was that, but at the same time, I was studious. I was, I was always doing stuff, in school. I remember there was something in Memphis City schools that came out called Homework Hotline. I was a spokesperson for that, for the nnewspaper, which that was like a big deal. I think it's a social appeal. And then when Smuckers, the
grape
came through,
company?
right?
Okay.
Exactly.
Grape jelly, Smuckers.
All of that, they came through. I was a spokes kid for that.
Wow.
So I had this really unique blend. So I had the out of control piece, that was and really what it was is it was like a leader, but I didn't know how to filter that.
Okay.
Sometimes you call kids acting out, and it's really leadership that's just unrefined. So, but I was like that with her, and years later, I was like, "You were a bad little boy." Like, I would steal. I had stolen a key out of a furniture store one time, and she made me take that key back.
Your mother?
Yes, they made me take my mother and grandma, great grandmother. They made me take that key back to the furniture store and tell them I stole the key. I was like, well, they don't need the key. I got the key. I mean, all kind of stuff like that. But then there was like this third leg, if you will, to that whole setup, in that I was also there was a spiritual nature about me. So he's now passed away, Dr. Frederick Casey Price would come on Friday nights, and like, I don't know, maybe 8 o'clock or something like that. And then, his song would come on, Evidence, doom, 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 Evidence, for those who remember that. And I thought it was saying Bennigan's. So for years, I was like, Bennigan's, doom, doom, Bennigan's.
That's how I am with a lot of Prince songs.
Okay, right.
Oh, that's what he was saying? I was so wrong.
Right. So, and I had that component. So I would read my Bible. I had this little kid study Bible. I'd read my Bible. I was very into spiritual things about God, that type of deal. We were a church-going family, and so the old school, or the family church coming up was St. Jude Missionary Baptist Church. Interestingly enough, we went back a couple of years ago and did an event in Memphis at that church, which my great-great-grandmother and some of the generation of our family, in the old school church, they have like the cornerstones and the bricks of the people who built it and gave towards it and all of that. And so that was really that was interesting. But I think I was sort of a unique blend. I was spiritual, bad, and good.
You know what? But here's what I love about that, is that I think that encapsulates a lot of us. I think that a lot of us, whether we know it or not, but a lot of people are yearning for some deeper spiritual connection, even as children. And even without the necessarily identifying the title of God, I think there's a quest, because we are born innately in our seeking God. So I love that. And I love that you were so many things, because we are so many things, So that's an amazing, amazing story about, about you.
I would make, so we had we call him JoJo, and JoJo he was a friend of our family, and I thought it was family until years and years later. And I found out he wasn't, because he was that constant. And he would, and I think technically he is family, so maybe messing up. I think technically, like somewhere he was, but I mean, he would walk me to school, and I would not want to be embarrassed being walked to school by him. So I would make him, he told me this later, I didn't remember doing it, but I would make him walk behind me because I didn't want to be embarrassed that I was being walked to the school. And, that type of a thing. And so I just, there were all these unique things, I think, that about it. Like, I can remember in second grade, I was in Dunbar Elementary School there in South Memphis. I was Miss Denton's class. Mrs. Wilburn was the principal. That tells you, I remember their names.
Oh my gosh.
People who have impacts on you, you remember them years and years later. And I was like, so he had all those different components. And there was this girl I had a crush on. Her name was Kalila Gray, was her name.
Kalila. I played a girl named Kalila on a TV show.
Come on, Kalila. What show did you play that on? I know you're supposed to be interviewing, but I'm what show did you play that on?
So it was a show called Here and Now. It was short-lived. We did 13 episodes. It was Malcolm Jamal Warner's show after The Cosby Show. Dr. Bill Cosby was an executive producer on the show, and I came on originally as a guest star. It was myself and Most Def. We played boyfriend and girlfriend, and they loved us so much on the show that they made us regulars.
Wow. Come on, Kalila.
Kalila.
Kalila. Come on, Kalila. So yeah, it was her name, Kalila Gray. I think, if I remember correctly, that was her name. And so I had always believed in building relationships with the teachers and the leaders. Like, I always gravitated towards leadership. I never really gravitated towards my contemporaries, like other kids and students like that. I always gravitated to leaders. And so, while the other kids were making friends, I was making friends with the teacher, and that worked well for me because I used it as leverage. So one day I told Mrs. Denton, she was like, you like Kalila, don't you? I was like, yes, ma'am. It's the South. So you said, yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. And so I don't know how it ended up, but they sent me over to her class one day. and said, well, you can go over there in her class. They sent me over into her class one day, and I'm sitting in her class. And then here's the other unique thing is I was super shy. And
Wow.
even some moments now where that shy thing can kind of pop up. And so I was super shy. And so everybody in the classroom knew I was there. The teachers knew why I was there. I'm the only one sitting there not saying nothing. Do you hear me? I didn't say nothing. I said nothing to her. So I'm sitting there doing my little work or whatever. And I won't say nothing to her. She'd speak to me and I'd be like, yes, no, real short answers. And I like wasted the whole opportunity. I didn't shoot no type of shot.
You didn't shoot no shot. You may as well just stayed on the bench.
Listen,
they throw the ball at you, you'd be like this.
Right, exactly. I'd be like, oh, that's for me. Like, y'all got to tell me. Like it was that type of a situation. So, but I would do that. You'd have those types of things. Like I wanted to be a teacher. Mrs. didn't go and get me some at the teacher supply store. I had her give me a grade book and some of those red pens. Let me tell you something. To this day, I have an obsession with red
pens.
To this day, right now, you see a bunch of pens and good gel pens. Like they got to write good. They got it's a whole obsession. And she would do that. She went and got me, and like, who was I grading? Like, I just put names in the book and we just start grading.
Just be giving people grades. Did everybody flunk? Did you?
No, listen, I was generous. I was a good teacher.
Okay, see, I'm sure Kalila got straight A's.
Listen, she passed. She was valedictorian.
Oh my gosh! See, I love that. So it wasn't a straight shot to becoming who you are today.
No.
I think that a lot of people would assume that you were always that, you were a pastor's kid, or that this was like something that you had thought about doing your whole life. So how is it that you became a pastor? How did that happen?
Good question. No, I am the first, to my knowledge, I am the first pastor, first bishop, first to achieve a lot of things. Like I realized part of my assignment was to be a curse breaker.
Yes.
And one day I prayed to God, and I got, so what do we do? He said, you're an Abraham. And an Abraham became the first for many things in his bloodline. But to be the first, he had to separate from the rest. So that was a whole lot. Because sometimes when you're navigating through that, the temptation is, well, I want to be like the rest and fit in with the rest. But when you're an Abraham, you have to be the first. And so there's a lot of times in my life where I was the first. I was out there, in many instances, sort of just out there by myself.
Right.
And it's the way it felt in those moments, but it wasn't that. So really, when it comes to getting into ministry, I got into ministry through music. I was a drummer. I was really bad when I started. I only got the drum set. Me and a friend of mine were very competitive.
Okay.
And his father or his grandfather was a bishop in the Pentecostal Assemblies of the World. And so he was in church and played organ and, things like that.
Okay.
And he would get an instrument. And so one year he got a drum set for Christmas. Well, guess what? I said, I want a drum set.
Yes.
So we went to the name of the company. I don't think they're around anymore. Flesher Hinton Music.
Okay.
We went over there, got a drum set, and my mother was like, you don't even play drums. And I had gotten into wanting to do the saxophone thing too. So I was playing I played sax. I didn't see it all the way through because I thought it was I thought it was a sexy instrument to play as a kid, for whatever that means. I thought it was like, if I play sax,
Yeah, I'll play this.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying? And that's just what I thought. So I got the drum set and I would start playing drums in the nighttime, or not nighttime, but just I would start playing drums and rehearsing. And I would have to do it at times like right after school. Before my mother got in, because when she got to get off those drums, obviously because they're loud. And so I had like an hour after school, and I would listen to tapes of this guy, and I would watch him play. I studied him. Wow. I studied how he played, and I'm right-handed, but he was like a left-handed drummer. So when you're right-handed, you cross your hands. When you're left-handed, you can play like this, or you can learn to play like this.
Right.
So he would do that, and his name was Stan. And Stan used to do his shoulder like this when he was hitting the snare drums. So when I play the drums, I'd be like, bam, bam. And my tempos were all over, all of that. But I literally would study tapes of music, and I would study musicians, and I'd watch them. And so I started at drums. I eventually got much better. And then, fast forward from there, I got into playing the keyboard. One night on a Monday night, the leadership of the church I served in came and said, we made some changes with the music, and we got rid of some people. And so you need to be ready to play by Wednesday. Ready to play what by Wednesday? Ready to play the keys by Wednesday. There were no, like, modern music. You got this thing called stems, where, it's like all of the stuff is on like a digital file, and you play it. You got your horns, your organ, all your sounds, your bass. There wasn't that. So, and then like tracks were not an option. That was not something that was done at the church I served in. So I had to learn how to play from that Monday, and I could chord, kind of like play around a little bit. That Monday I had to learn how to play. Church was Wednesday at 6:30. So I had like 2 days. I was in high school, and I had to learn how to play. And I said I was not going to let them down.
Right.
So that was just kind of the way I am. I just make stuff happen. So I got playing, and we did like the same 3 songs. I love it. And like,
I learned, but I only know 3.
You got 3 options. You can do 1, 2, 3. You can do 3, 2, 1. You can do 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 3. That's it. That's all you got. And then like during like times of prayer, I just pray the songs really slow. I mean, it was that type of a thing. But I was like, I am not going to let my leaders down. If they ask me to do something, I'm going to get it done. And it was my privilege to serve. So I viewed it as, why I've been asked to do this. And who would know that would then, basically create this whole cascade. So from there, I got into leading worship and choirs, directing choirs and things like that. And simultaneously, I was doing business stuff too. And then from there, you fast forward to, I was an associate pastor. Fast forward from that, we launched the church. I did not want to be a senior pastor. I was like, I don't want to do this. But I see how pastors get treated. And I said, listen, Lord, I do not have the temperament to be treated like that and be okay with it. But, God clearly said yes.
Yeah.
And so we started, and we started with nothing. We started from scratch with nothing. Nobody gave us anything. Nobody helped us do anything. And I'm grateful for that.
Yes.
Because it taught me how to make it happen and how to really walk by faith.
Yeah. And I think that, like you said, when you start with nothing, there's something really liberating about that, because you don't owe anyone,
So good.
And also people don't get to impose their ideas of what they think it should be.
Absolutely.
It really comes from the vision that's downloaded to you from God, from the Holy Spirit. So I love that. Absolutely. So if you weren't a pastor,
sure,
what I mean, I know you mentioned that you started in business, but if you weren't a pastor, what business do you think you would be doing now? I know that you, at one point, you were in real estate, right? Do you think you would still be in real estate, or would you be like the CEO of something else right now? What do you think?
You know what? I was on the real estate finance side. I loved that business. It was an amazing business. It was very good to me. I loved the business, but I'll be honest. The truth is, if I was to think about it, like, I had a plan. Like, I found a video of me when I was 16 years old, and I had my glasses on. I still wear contacts, but I had my glasses on, and I was sitting around because I was part of this program called Teen Court that I helped create in the city of Aurora. And we had all done this TV interview for UPN back then, and they were asking, they said, so, like, what do you want to do? And so I had a plan. I was like, I'm going to become a lawyer. Then I'm going to get appointed to a local judgeship. Then from there, I'm going to shift into politics. And my plan was to be the first Barack Obama. And then Barack Obama became Barack Obama. That was my plan. So
Right.
what would I be doing now? Probably the real estate finance business. I loved that business,
Okay.
and still enjoy many of the facets of that. So it would probably be something like that,
Okay.
or really any corporation. I like building things from scratch, and I like fixing things. I like creating systems. I like creating structure. I like figuring out where there's inefficiencies. So I do a lot of that now for pastors. I'd probably either be in that real estate finance world, or really I could see myself as like the turnaround guy. Bring me in to turn something around. Because that's what I do for people. Bring me in and I'll turn it around. If it's going the wrong way, I'll turn it around.
Yeah, you're like the male Olivia Pope. I'm gonna
There
come
you
in.
go. Come on, Olivia.
I'm gonna
Fix
come
it.
in and
I
I'm
can
gonna
be on the
fix things.
side though. You
Clean
gotta
it
fix
up.
it. There you go.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. So, in your mentioning of Aurora, I know that you have a day there. Like there's a Bishop Kevin Foreman Day in Aurora as well as in Denver. So
Right.
how did that happen?
So we've done so since Harvest inception. It's always been about being one of our core values is being community transformers. And to me, like I always saw the purpose of ministry is to make sure that if it was to no longer exist, would it matter that it did in the first place?
Woo,
And that's how
say
life.
that. Yes.
Like I view my life that way. Like when I exit, will it have mattered that I existed? And to me, that's really important. And the only way to really do that is to change the lives of other people. And so Harvest has done a lot of work. And so we were honored October 16th, which is a couple of days before my birthday. They made in Denver. He's now senator, which it was so amazing, that whole journey, because I met him when he was mayor, then he became governor, and now he's senator. And in fact, I before he was elected to the Senate, that Sunday before the election, I did the prayer and the words. Bishop, what's the word? What is God saying? And boom, was able to give that. So to watch him through his journey,
right,
been there. So he did that. John Hickenlooper did that originally, and then years later, the late mayor Steve Hogan in Aurora, he dittoed that, so to speak, on October 16th. And so every year, October 16th, we celebrate the anniversary of that Bishop Kevin Foreman Day, which is really, honestly, it's I view it this way as Harvest Day, because anything that I accomplish, we accomplish. That's the way I view it. Is there Bishop Foreman is what's seen, but there's a lot of people that help to make that happen.
Absolutely. There's always a team. It's that way for us as artists, as actors as well. There's so many people that contribute to our performances that get acknowledged, and we tend to get the praise and the attention.
Right.
But it really does take a village. So I so appreciate the fact that you consider it Harvest Day, October 16th. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
So I think that, this is part of why I know some of your colleagues call you the architect of excellence, because you are so focused on community and on changing the environment, not just about preaching a good word, but really about transformation and transforming lives. So tell me in that, why Atlanta? Because I know that you're getting ready. You've been so successful with Harvest in Denver, and now you're on the verge of starting another church in Atlanta. So tell me, why Atlanta and why now?
Great question. So why Atlanta? So Denver's been so good to me and to Harvest. And I'm reminded sometimes the Lord, I'm gonna be real honest. In 2012, I felt like a total failure. And I remember walking in my bedroom, and here's the thing: the church was doing amazing. Didn't know anybody anything, growing, people coming to the Lord. But I was like, God, by now I thought I'd have like 20,000 people coming to church.
Right.
But the Lord, he said, son, this was his words to me. These were his words to me. Walking in my bedroom. And I felt like, for those who remember the original 10 Commandments with Charlton Heston.
Yes.
And he said, what have I left undone? And then all of a sudden the pillar of fire comes down. So I was like, evidently that prayer worked for him. Let me work that prayer. I was like, well, what have I left undone? I was like, this is good, God, but there's more in me. There's more.
Yes.
There's more. And in that moment, I literally, that's what I prayed. I said, what have I left undone? I said, what have I left undone? And here's his response. You're a miracle. You don't even know it.
Mm.
And so I began to really become a student of my craft and ministry and all of that. And in doing that, I ended up being in a scenario where I began to look at the statistics, and I was like, wow. So Denver is 46 out of 50 for lowest church attendance in the nation. It's 4% African American, so there's not a lot of racial or ethnic diversity. Let me put that in context. There are 62,217 African Americans in the same space, in the same basic geographic footprint as in Atlanta, where there are 2.3 million.
Wow.
So
Okay.
that just shows you the difference
Right.
in terms of diversity, because
Right.
our reach is more than just Black people, but we've got multiracial, multicultural, etc. But with all of that, this just shows you the differences. And so I didn't realize how much of a miracle what God had done was. Like, so we started studying like the average church founded and led by an African American man. And when we began to look at that, we said, whoa.
Right.
This
The
is
statistics can be very frightening. Yeah.
like, this is a whole miracle. And so it changed my whole mentality. And in fact, I think even that year, I think I was preaching in Montreal, our anniversary day. And when I got back that year, I basically said to the congregation, I said, let me reintroduce myself, because I viewed this, and I'm gonna be honest, it's been a tug of war throughout the last 14 years since we started. And sometimes viewing it as a sentence. Like, God, let me out early for good behavior. Love the people of Harvest, or love the city, and love the work that we're doing and still will do and continue to do. But I was like, God, there's more, there's more, there's more, there's more, there's more. And his response was, one, you're a miracle and don't even know it. So that created a whole nother level of student in me. It showed me how to be more efficient. It showed me how to reach unchurched and dechurched people, like people who don't come to church, people who've never been in church, which showed me how to connect with people from a variety of different backgrounds. So what I used to view as a sentence, I view as my greatest setup. Like, it has been such a, and is a great blessing to have started in Denver. And there's so many spiritual components to it too, but it's been so good to have started in Denver, because I have a whole different view of ministry and how to reach people. And so we started praying about what area we knew we were going to want to expand. That's always been our vision, multiple locations since day one. And so we've done lots of digital locations before digital was the thing. Like, with the pandemic, everybody's digital.
Right.
We have been doing digital apps and Apple TV and Roku and things like that. We have been doing that type of stuff years and years ago, because our limitations made us, innovate. And so we had done that, and we started praying about that. So we thought we were going to go one direction. And that ended up not being the direction we were going to go in for one particular city. So the board of directors and I, we prayed and said, okay, God, what is it? So I started going. We had a list of 10 cities, and I started traveling to those cities. And I would go, I'd take a few days, and I would go, I would pray, I would eat. Come on here. I would eat. The food ain't good. Listen,
if y'all don't know Bishop Foreman, he works out to stay in shape. This is not, he likes to eat. He's not starving himself.
And give me some good white bread. Oh my God. Some white bread and some butter. Jeez.
Yes.
But so I would do that. And one day we were looking at, and I was like, I don't want to do Atlanta. Like, I was like, I'm not interested in Atlanta. What I've learned is what I don't want initially is often what God wants permanently. And I said it like that on purpose, like initially versus permanent, because what I've learned is, like, once I know His will, it becomes my new favorite thing to do.
Okay.
So I know I didn't want to be a pastor, but when I knew this is what I was supposed to do, I was like, well, guess what, God? That's going to be my new favorite thing. I'm not going to use my lack of initial desire, because sometimes we fear things, but we only fear what we don't know or don't understand.
Right.
And so,
100%.
Long story short, we were praying and looking, and one of my long-term leaders, we were in a meeting, and she said, sir, it's probably going to be Atlanta, because that's the one you don't want. And I said to her, and I said it jokingly, I was like, would you shut up? And I said it jokingly. I said, be quiet, be quiet, be quiet. I said, I do not want to hear that. And it's Atlanta.
And it's Atlanta.
It's Atlanta, and so it's really all God. And then when we started to look at the numbers, like it's the number one digital area outside of the Denver area where people watch from, connect from, and it is all the seven spheres of society: arts and entertainment, business, education, government, media,
Yeah,
church.
I'm there often, and it's a mecca of entertainment. There was statistically before the pandemic, there were more productions shooting in Atlanta than there were in California and Los Angeles, which
See?
is, which is the mecca and the hub of where this stuff happens. But actual film production was booming in Atlanta.
Exactly, and it still is. I mean, I think
Yeah.
Netflix, I read something like billions of dollars they invested there.
Yeah.
So you got all of that there, and so part of my call is to influence influencers. And so it's like the Apostle Paul. He did great work, but when he got to Rome, it changed everything because the gospel was able to disseminate because it was the center of culture. So I think in many ways, Atlanta is a center of culture for many different things. So it's all God, and I know that's cliche, but it's just the truth. It's God. I'm excited.
No, I'm excited too. I love Atlanta. So I think great work. There's great work for you to do there, and there's great need there as well. So I'm very excited about the launch.
Yeah.
You just said that you like to influence influencers.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that, for anyone who's ever heard a message of yours, you're very contemporary in terms of being in touch with what's happening now, but you are one of the things I love that's so brilliant about your teaching is that you're able to somehow bridge the word and the history of the Bible with what's happening today. You don't make it feel like, oh, that's something that happened a long time ago and it's not relevant to today. How is it that you're able to marry those things?
Great point. Because I always think from the mentality of results. Like when I am preaching or teaching or leading or doing anything, I want it so that people can get results. Like, what's the takeaway? Like, that's great. We had an amazing time in church, but now you got to go live this out.
Right.
So to me, anytime I can connect things, like again, I'll use music, I'll use movies. We've done Harvest at the Movies. We've done summer playlists. We've done, anything,
Right.
culture. I'll do Can You Stand the Rain as an altar call. Like, like we'll do that type of thing. But to me, that's because it really represents who Jesus really is that he disseminated and he moved in and out and among. He was very culturally relevant. And God is culturally relevant. Like the Bible is not something that's just for thousands of years ago that's got a few good ideas. Like it's alive, which means it's alive. As culture moves, then the word simply becomes
the word remains true.
Yeah. And so while so much is new, so much is old, right?
Right.
It says, there's a time for everything under heaven. So to me, it's always about people getting results. And then from there, I look at, culturally relevant things. And so I try to always be, as much as possible, what's going on in culture, what's happening in the world, what's happening in everyday life. Because we can't just do this in church. Like this has to be on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, even on Sunday, every day of the week.
Right.
As the song goes.
I love that. And I think you're right. We love the high, as you will, churchgoers, but is it necessarily, it's not always necessarily transforming our behavior, transforming our relationships, transforming our bank accounts, transforming our giving, transforming our hearts, transforming our minds. So
Right.
I love that you continually find a way to bridge the truth of the word and make it alive for people to digest it today. So that's just one of the things that I know you're so great at, and I think has been a part of your success.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And let me say this too, because like my heart is for the people that I lead and the people that are connected to me. I really want to see them win. Period. Like that I really want to see them. I can't wait to read their praise reports. I can't wait to hear the amazing things that God's doing in their life. And I realize that if you just get up and give a bunch of blah, 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 that has no substance to it. And I know we live in a time where people sometimes look to show over substance, but to me, you need substance.
Yeah.
Because you got to eat. Like, you can only eat Skittles for so long all day.
Right.
You're going to need some substance. And so to me, and sustenance. And so for me, that's just an important piece. I want to see people win, and especially those that are connected to me. I want to see them win. I want to see them do well. I want to see their praise reports. I want to see their lives improve. That's the gospel. It's good news. And good news means that it improved my life and it improved the lives of those around me. We're blessed to be a blessing.
Be a blessing. 100%. 100%. And I love that. And, you know, for those of you who don't know, they're very transparent. Harvest is very transparent about where their money is going, with the souls that have been saved. Like, they are very accountable so that you can see the progress and really see and keep track of how good God is. And they share praise reports as well. So it's really wonderful to be able to have that kind of transparency and accountability. So that's one of my favorite things about Harvest and how you do things.
Yes. Yeah.
I do.
Can I say this on that?
Yes.
Because I think that's so key. You're right. We show that every single experience is how many people got saved. And then this is what we've done. So this is how many people we fed. This is how much this. And you mentioned it, but to me, that's just important, because yes, we should give because the Bible teaches that. But also it's good to see, wow, look at what's happening as a result of that. The progress is being made as a result of that. So that's important to me, because I think we all want to know that we're contributing to something bigger than ourselves. So
absolutely. Yeah. And it's encouraging, like you said, when you can see that your consistent tithing and contributions is transforming lives. It is very encouraging, and it can grow exponentially, and it has a snowball effect. So I think it's a beautiful thing. And I have two more questions. So the first one is just because I know people want to know. So are you married? Are you single? Are you dating? I know you ain't got no kids.